Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a plan with me for the week of July 31st through August 6th, 2023 using my B5 Archer&Olive notebook. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. Here we are in my B5 Archer&Olive notebook. I'm going to be going with a vertical layout for this week's spread. I will be using this stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I'll be incorporating these stamps from Elle Studio. This set from Paper Person. I had the intention of using a stamp from this set from HeidiSwapp, but forgot to. I will be using my favorite number stamps from HeidiSwapp. And I will be incorporating 2 different color Distress Oxides as well as my black VersaFine ink. Now, if the stencil and the stamps and the colors that I'm using for this week's spread seem familiar, that is because I used them for last week's spread. I decided that because I will still be on vacation for 2 days of this week, that I wanted my spreads to match each other. And so I'm using all of the same materials. I'm just putting down the Distress Oxide on this stencil in opposite colors that I did for last week's spread. So this stencil here, it doesn't quite fit across each page completely, so I actually have to pick it up and then put it down twice on the left page and then twice on the right page. And in doing that, it makes it easiest to have the 2 colors I'm using go from color 1 to color 2 back to color 1. And for last week's spread, I did pink, blue, pink across each page. But for this week's spread, I decided to switch that and do blue, pink, blue, just to vary things up a little bit, even though the spread from last week and the spread from this week are meant to be sister spreads to each other. I did try while I was stenciling this across to be a little bit more conscious of fading the ink from pink to blue. I did want it to look like it was fading from one color into the other. I wanted that purple in the middle, and I do think I did a little bit better with it on this spread versus last week's spread. I also tried to be a little bit better about holding the stencil down around the area where I was putting the Distress Oxide. That way I didn't get as much bleeding, and I do think I was a little bit better with that as well. As you can see, I am now going in with my days of the week stamps as well as my date stamps. Just like I did with last week's spread, I am using 2 different blocks here. That way I can make this process go a little bit quicker. I am putting the days of the week down first and then the date on top. And similarly to what I said last week, I do actually wish that I would have put the days of the week stamps below the stencil versus right at the bottom border of the stencil. I think because these days of the week stamps are a little bit more fine, it's harder to see them through the brightness of the different colored Distress Oxides that I used versus if I would have used more of a lighter colored Distress Oxide. But overall, I don't mind the way that this spread came out. I genuinely wanted to go for a more simple vibe last week and this week, and I do think I accomplished that while still being able to use fun colors and a fun stencil. I did actually debate with this week's spread using a different row of that stencil. So the way that stencil is, it's almost 3 rows, and these, I don't know what you call them, these like abstract lines, they get longer in each row, and the row that I used is the longest row, so the lines are the longest. But I was kind of debating using a line, the two other lines combined because they were shorter. But in the end, I decided that I did really want these two spreads to match each other. So going with the same line made the most sense. Similarly to last week, I had the intention of pulling in a box stamp and putting it down on Monday with a line extending into Tuesday to indicate that I was going to be on vacation at the beginning of this week. But I don't know, in the moment of doing these spreads, and I did actually put these two spreads together, one right after each other, I definitely forgot. The stamp set was sitting right there in front of me and I forgot, which is pretty unfortunate, but I am going to go in with just a plain box sticker and use a little bit of washi tape to accomplish the same results. Now I'm in the bottom left corner of the spread, and just like last week, I didn't go with a stencil in this area. Again, I wanted the spread to be a bit more simple, so I just put down the August stamp, put down the week number stamp, and then put down the 31 because it is the 31st week of the year. I do like the way that I lined those three stamps up with each other in this spread. I wasn't as big of a fan of how they lined up in last week's spread. One thing I also forgot to mention in last week's plan with me was that I am using a micron to put in the lines to separate each day of the week, but I usually do so with a micron that's in the 08 size, and unfortunately mine ran out of ink. I use it all the time in my planner and in my reading journal, and I didn't have any more of 08 microns, so I had to pull a different size out of my collection, and the next biggest size that I had was this 05. I certainly don't mind it, but I think I like the chunkier lines better. So I do need to pick up some 08 microns so that I can get back to using those nice bold lines between each day of the week. And I'm realizing now as I'm filming this voiceover that I stamped the 6 and Sunday stamps without recording them. I'm so bummed that I messed that up. But as you can see, I did separate the last column into Saturday and Sunday as usual, and I did put a 6 and a Sunday down. I was better about my spacing this time around, so I didn't have any overlap. Now I'm just erasing some pencil marks, and that will be it for this week's plan with me. I hope that you all enjoyed this video and this sister spread to last week's spread. I really enjoyed putting it together. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.